I think the last time I really presented here was, my goodness, it must have been about, what, 10, 12 years ago, huh, Jennifer?
About that, yeah.
Because we had the Sugar Ray Robinson book, Pound for
Yes,
Pound,
yes.
you know, Sugar Ray, boom, boom.
Yeah.
And, but I've come through here several times, and each time I come, I make sure I take something away with me. This is what I'm going to take away with me today.
What is that?
This is Dr. John Henry Clark.
Oh,
It's a
they have
collection.
another one?
Oh,
You
yeah.
have another one over here?
I think it's another one up here.
You know, I was
I may
just-
have gotten the last one.
Okay, that's all right. I
And
was
then-
just
but
talking,
I'm sure Jennifer, she can
I
find
was
you
just
another
talking
one.
about him
Yeah.
last
I
week.
choose this one because Dr. Clark was my mentor.
Oh, okay.
The last 2 years of his life, you know, Dr. Clark lost his sight,
Yes.
but not his vision.
Exactly.
He lost his sight, but he could still. They're like Stevie Wonder and Ray Charles. Those are far-seeing individuals. Some over there don't mean nothing. Block off the eyesight because they had this insight.
Yes.
And Dr. Clark was just a fantastic
Yes, he
scholar
Yes, it
and very, very open. So the last 2 years of his life, he called me up one evening and come on over, I want to talk to you. And he was working on a project with Tom Feelings. I don't know if you ever heard of Tom Feelings. Very fine artist. Tom Feelings for 25 years worked on a book. The drawings of the transatlantic slave trade. Michael, you know the big book came out. So Dr. Clark called me up and the publisher, I think it was Dial, they were having problems, you know, getting text to go along with these very graphic and just wonderful depictions of the. He had 100. He already done 100 pages. They wanted it down to 12. He said, "I can't do it, but could you go ahead and work on this thing and compress it into 12 pages?" I say, "Well, what can we argue for at least 25?" So I did it in 25 and turned it over to the publisher, and they were quite satisfied. So that's the text. Then we had two other big projects. We were going to put out Harlem, USA, and another collection that he had on the Harlem community. And of course, he expired before we could get those projects finished. And from time to time, I talk to Sybil, his widow. There's a young man, William Jelani Cobb, who wants to do a definitive biography. And everybody say, "Herb, when you going to do the biography on Dr. Clark?" Well, I think Barbara Adams has done a fairly decent job. She used to teach with me at the College of New Rochelle. And lives right up there on Convent on Sugar Hill, right there with me. But I thought she has done a couple of fine editions on that. I'll leave that from some other folks. You know, I got other fish to fry. Now that you finish your meal, y'all want to go home, don't you? Well, this is always a wonderful place to come because it's last sister standing in a minute. Hey, Michael, what's going on, man? You know, it's happening all across the country. If the majors can't stand, you know the minors are in trouble. You know when B. Daltons disappeared, when Borders disappeared, when Barnes and Noble started to collapse. Oh, the industry. Boom, 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 boom. I got a kind of a shock from the industry just yesterday myself. I signed a contract to do a book, another Malcolm X project, but this is the diary of Malcolm X's diary.
Really? All right.
How to get that?
You know, anyone can get it.
Really?
It's at the Schomburg
Oh, yeah. That's right. Downstairs.
on microfilm. You gotta work through that though. It took me 2 months about off and on to finally get 250 pages copied from microfilm so I could transcribe it.
Okay.
And he had Malcolm, if you check out his writing, it's pretty legible. But then I studied Chinese and Arabic so I can, you know, deal with it. Chicken scratching. You know what I'm saying? No, but he got it down quite nicely. And so I transcribed the diary. Working with his daughter, Ilyasa. Malcolm left behind 6 daughters. 2 of them he had never even seen because they were still incubating. They were still in the oven, you might say. The twins had came out. And I was just with two of them. You know, this is what, the 23rd? 2 days ago, you had the 21st, which is the day of his assassination. 48 years ago, huh? Some of you may remember that. Come on.
I was at the Audubon.
Right. But see, this street here is a very interesting street because you go from both ends of the street.
Yes.
Yes.
You got the Audubon at one end, and you got Unity Church at the other end. That's where they held the funeral. Remember? No other church would take it. And Bishop Norman Quick said, bring it on in here. Percy Sutton was running all over the place trying to find somewhere to bury Malcolm, to honor and funeralize him. All the churches just, no, they didn't want to touch Malcolm, living or dead.
Wow.
So finally, they did it up there. Ossie Davis's great eulogy, our black and shiny prince, you know, symbolic of our manhood. It was just a wonderful presentation. So, you know, in the Audubon, now is the Malcolm X, Dr. Betty Shabazz Memorial Education Center. Be looking down the road because that's where it is. I mean, a lot of people like it got a tactile thing. I like to hold books myself, but at the same time, I'm very much aware that the electronic age is upon us. And when you talk about exclusive rights, and you can't get what? I mean, it reverts back to the author. Thankfully, I'm one of the authors. But then that's only 50% of it. If the publisher's saying, I don't want no part of it. I can't surrender those rights. I mean, that's like selling the company's story. It's gone. So we had a kind of a higgling and haggling now. What are we going to do with that? But I think the resolution is that I'm going to surrender a portion of what I'm guaranteed in terms of percentages coming from the ebook sales. I'll just give that back to the publisher because I don't want him to bow out. I don't want to lose him. So I'll just share whatever I get. If he wants 40%, he can take 40, I'll take 10. Because I'm already going to get 7% in terms of royalties. Hell, I might even invest in this project. That may be the slickest thing to do. Be co-publisher. Get all of the things. But it's such a pleasure to be here. This is 1942, Amsterdam, almost my year of birth. But I was looking over there, I see my wife's book right there, Proud Heritage, you know, 1101 names for our black African-American baby. And that book did very well, remarkably well, you know, in terms of, you know, I mean, the Sharikas, all of the names that came up, the new names out there, trying to make sense out of them, and then to connect them up. But the 1960s, 1970s was like alive and electric with those names coming out of there. Boy, we came up with male and female. But here with this gathering of sisters and a couple of brothers, it's always wonderful to talk about some of the books now that I'm currently reading or just finished reading about black women writers. More than talking about By Any Means Necessary. You can read that on your own. Essentially, that book is a response to Manning Mirable's book.
Thank God.
And I was just looking at it on the shelf. It's a response to this book.
Oh, the Malcolm X.
And one of the key things that concerned us very much so was this here word right here, reinvention. And when Tariq spoke the other night, I was so glad to see that he used the word transformation, which we thought was a much better word for economic, political, cultural development, particularly political development. That's when we figured that Malcolm was undergoing right to the last days of his life. He was still evolving.
Oh, yeah.
Still growing. 39 years of age.
Yeah.
I can remember when I was 39. I thought I did. And of course, you know, Dr. King, we lost him at 39.
Right.
Yes.
Medgar Evers, 37.
37.
I mean, come on. These are young men who were like on the precipice, right on the, just beginning to break through. Malcolm was literally flying by the seats of his pants. And the last year of his life was probably the most productive period out of all the 39 years. Spike Lee missed that one. He missed that deplorably. I mean, come on. You can't spend 20 minutes on zoot suits. And a minute and a half, a montage on 1964 and 65. Give me a break. So that's one of the things we hope that the diary will come back and capture and complement, you know, the autobiography. I still feel the autobiography is a very powerful book. One of the most powerful books ever written in this country. So we're hoping that the diary will fill in some of the blanks, extend the discussion. One, and I'll say this about the diary and finish that, I think we have determined who the CIA agent was, who was following and shadowing, trailing Malcolm in North Africa and the Middle East. We nailed him. I think we got to nail it. It's not conclusive because he's still alive. So you got to be very careful about that. You know, here comes the lawsuit. You know, no, you can't. But the thing about it, it's true. You can't do anything about it.
Right.
You know, we're just saying, hey, but if we keep it in the supposition, perhaps, possibly. You know, that's what
I know what you did that summer.
Exactly. Well, see, that's when Manning Marable got into a whole lot of supposition, probably too much though, particularly when it comes to the sexual situation and the homosexual situation. Of course, we figured that was absolutely abominable and without any kind of substantiation on either of those cases. But it got him the money. It got him the money, and that's how he sold the project. You know, publisher love to hear somebody, you gonna dish the dirt? You gonna out him? Oh, give him an extra $100,000. Just awful. But anyway, I just finished reading, what I'm currently reading is a book called Islanda. Huh? Islanda. Islanda. Paul Robeson's wife.
Oh, wow.
The woman behind the man, huh? We talk about a shadow that he cast. But Barbara Ransby, who did the book on Ella Baker, this is a tremendous piece of work. That she's able to talk about these things in such a way, and very intimately. Some of that stuff was almost borders on being scandalous. But they had an open marriage. A lot of people don't realize that. Martin Duberman and even Paul Robeson Jr. put out a little bit of that in advance of what Barbara Ransby has done. But that's a remarkable piece of work. I'm just about through with it now. I'll be talking about it more convincingly and exhaustively when at the end of the month, I speak at Delphi University. They want me to talk about contemporary literature, arts and literature. So this is kind of like a rehearsal.
You're using us.
Use y'all. I got my focus group, right? No, but the deal is that the book that was reviewed in New York Times book review section, yes, it came out today. Some of you get it on Sunday, but I subscribe to New York Times, so I get it on Saturday. Jamaica Kincaid.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
She has a new book called See Now Then, which is obviously autobiographical. Stone cold autobiographical. And she's talking about, she talks about and screams on her ex-husband who ran off with a younger woman.
I guess she's really
you know that's gotta be
put that on our list. Yeah, she did. Put that on our list.
What's the name of that book?
Yes.
Oh.
A little titillation.
I will.
But you know, if you kept up with her career, I remember Lucy, the book she did called Lucy, but for many years she wrote for New Yorker magazine. Well, her editor at that time was a man named William Shawn. She ended up marrying Ellen Shawn, William Shawn's son.